Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever had a man seem completely interested in you, even tell you he's falling for you, but then he never actually commits? It's like you can feel him holding back that final piece of himself. You're left wondering, what am I missing here? Why does he enjoy being with me, but won't choose me completely? Here's the truth. No one's telling you, and it might sting a little. Most women believe that proving how perfect you are for him, how compatible, how loving, and how much value you bring is what makes a man commit forever. But guess what? That's the biggest relationship myth out there, and it's actually preventing the very commitment you're seeking. If you're doing everything right and he's still keeping one foot out the door, the problem isn't you. It's the fundamental misunderstanding you've been sold about what makes a man choose one woman forever. This video is about to flip the script. I'm going to show you what truly makes a man commit on a soul level. And no, it's not being the perfect girlfriend or trying to eliminate all your flaws. It's about activating his emotional commitment blueprint, the kind that makes him unable to imagine his life without you in it. Those of you tired of almost relationships, of being good enough to date but not to marry, or watching men choose other women who don't seem to try half as hard, stay right here. You're about to learn how to shift from being selected to being irreplaceable. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how to become the woman he can't help but commit his entire life to. Grab a notepad, turn off your distractions. Let's rewrite everything you thought you knew about male commitment. It all starts now. So let's talk about something that confuses almost every woman at some point. Why some men can be completely captivated by you, but still won't fully commit. You meet someone, the connection is undeniable, he treats you well, tells you how amazing you are, introduces you to friends, maybe even family. Things progress naturally and everything seems to be heading toward commitment. And then suddenly, there's an invisible wall. He starts saying things like, I'm just not ready, or I need more time. Or worse, he doesn't say anything but just keeps things exactly where they are. Month after month, you start to feel that weird gut feeling that something is off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. And then slowly or suddenly, you realize you're in relationship limbo. I know your mind goes into overdrive trying to figure out what happened. Is there someone else? Are you not pretty / smart / interesting enough? Should you have been more understanding of his situation? Does he just have commitment issues? Would being more patient help? But here's the truth. It's not always about your qualities or what you bring to the table. It's often about how you trigger or fail to trigger his commitment instinct. Here's what most women don't realize. Male commitment isn't just built on compatibility, chemistry, or convenience. It's built on emotional necessity, the psychological state where he doesn't just want you in his life, he needs you there. And when that necessity isn't activated, even the most loving relationship can stall indefinitely. Men naturally seek certain emotional experiences in their forever person that are completely different from what initially attracts them. And when a woman focuses only on being a good partner in conventional ways, she often misses activating the deeper commitment triggers that make him certain. The flip side, when you stop focusing on proving your worth and start embodying emotional sovereignty, something shifts. You create admiration, fascination, and emotional safety of a different kind. And that's what makes him commit. Not because you're trying to convince him, but because you've become his emotional home. See, most women go into achievement mode when seeking commitment. They start doing more when he seems uncertain. They try to remove all friction and become the perfect partner when they sense hesitation. But that creates a dynamic where he's evaluating and you're auditioning. And no one is truly connecting at the soul level. What works instead is doing the opposite. When you sense commitment, uncertainty, don't panic. Don't escalate your efforts. Observe. And most importantly, reconnect with your inherent completeness with or without his commitment. That's what keeps your presence compelling. When a man feels that you are anchored in your own emotional fulfillment, that you're not frantically dependent on his decision to commit, something primal in him awakens. Why? Because you're no longer chasing certainty. You're not seeking resolution. You are the resolution. That's powerful. That's rare. That's what makes you commitment worthy. So flipping the script isn't about becoming indifferent or emotionally unavailable. It's about understanding that your relationship status doesn't determine your worthiness. The more deeply you believe that, the more magnetically committed to you become. Your current situation may feel uncertain, but that doesn't mean the story is over. It just means it's time to rewrite your role in it. From convincing to embodying, from worrying to wondering, from insecurity to inner certainty. And when you do that, when you become the kind of woman who doesn't need his commitment to feel whole, but inspires it naturally, he feels it in his bones. And that's when forever decisions start to form. Let's keep going. Now let's get into what commitment inspiring women do differently, because this is where everything starts to click. When people talk about being commitment material, it's often misunderstood. It's not about being flawless, compromising your needs, or following some checklist of wifely qualities. It's about how you relate to yourself, how you navigate uncertainty, how you respond to his tests, and most importantly, how you handle the gap between where the relationship is and where you want it to be. A commitment-inspiring woman doesn't obsess over the relationship's future. She doesn't analyze his every word for clues. She moves through uncertainty with a quiet confidence that whatever happens, she'll be okay. And that energy changes how he experiences the relationship. She's not trying to secure commitment. She is the commitment to herself. One of the biggest differences is emotional self-regulation. When commitment seems uncertain, the average response is anxiety, seeking constant reassurance, creating relationship talks, trying to lock things down. But the commitment-inspiring woman doesn't spiral. She acknowledges her desires clearly once, then returns to present enjoyment and personal alignment. Why? Because she's not operating from scarcity, she's operating from abundance. She knows that pushing for commitment from fear only creates resistance, while magnetic wholeness creates natural draw. She also knows how to maintain healthy autonomy without being distant or disconnected. She's invested in the relationship, not because she's trying to secure an outcome, but because connection matters to her. And that authentic engagement is irresistible. Men can feel the difference. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about having a standard of mutual progression and honoring it. No matter how much she loves him. Another thing she does differently, she doesn't make the relationship her primary source of emotional well-being. Her fulfillment isn't dependent on his next move. It's grounded in her personal growth, her inner peace, her life's purpose. When she shows up in the relationship, she's creating joy, not seeking validation. That creates breathing room, mystery, and genuine appreciation. It's the difference between a relationship that feels like pressure and one that feels like privilege. Commitment, inspiring women also communicate differently. They don't demand or manipulate. They express desires clearly, then embody those standards with actions. They don't avoid important conversations, but they also don't confuse emotional processing with relationship progress. That level of emotional wisdom stands out immediately. Because clarity without desperation is one of the most attractive qualities to a man considering forever. The irony is, the moment you stop trying to be chosen and start genuinely choosing yourself first, people feel that. Men feel that. You're no longer hoping to be selected. You're determining if he meets your vision, your timeline, your capacity for love. And listen, being commitment inspiring doesn't mean being emotionally detached. It means being warm and vulnerable, but not dependent. Invested, but not desperate. It's a delicate balance and it takes inner work. But once you shift into that energy, the way men commit to you changes because you've changed. So if you've ever wondered why some women inspire swift, certain, enthusiastic commitment from the same men who strung others along for years, it's not luck, it's not manipulation, it's embodiment. Let's break it down even further because we're just getting started. When we talk about commitment, most people immediately think of relationship status, exclusivity, or marriage. But here's the truth. Legal commitment might create a marriage, but emotional commitment is what creates a lifetime. If you want something real, something lasting, it has to go way deeper than just securing the title. It has to transform his identity to include you permanently. Surface commitment is easy, it's structural, it's social, and it can be broken. It's what happens when a man commits for logical reasons, right age, right time, family pressure. But soul level commitment, that's different. That's when he feels that his very sense of self is enhanced by your presence. That's when he feels stronger, more capable, more himself with you than without you, not just temporarily, but fundamentally. A lot of women are taught to focus heavily on the external markers, how to get him to introduce you, how to become official, how to get the ring, how to set the date. And yes, those steps matter. There's nothing wrong with wanting clarity and progression. But if that's the only level you're connecting on, the commitment will be fragile, because once the checkbox is marked, he starts asking himself deeper questions. Does she make me better? Do I like who I am with her? Is this enhancing my life or limiting it? That's where commitment either deepens or deteriorates. Soul level commitment is built through transformative presence, not achievement. It's built when you enhance his life without diminishing his essence, when you challenge him without criticizing, when you create safety without sacrificing standards. It's when you're secure enough to love without clinging, to care without controlling. That's the glue. That's what keeps him committed for life. And here's where a lot of women get stuck. They think that if they express their desire for commitment clearly, they'll scare him away or seem desperate. But authentic desire is not the same as anxious attachment. It's about knowing what you want and being aligned enough to express it with confidence. It's about being secure enough to welcome his authentic response, whatever it is, rather than trying to manipulate the outcome. It's not about being cool or pretending you don't care. It's about caring deeply and still being whole. On the flip side, when a woman is riddled with commitment anxiety, constantly comparing the relationship to others or fixating on the future, she might seem invested, but she creates pressure rather than inspiration. And pressure is what makes good men hesitate when they might otherwise leap. That's the kind of woman he feels obligated to, not magnetically drawn toward. Not because she wants commitment too much, but because she trusts the process too little. And let's be real, practical compatibility still matters. Shared values are crucial, but the most powerful commitments are the ones where practicality and soul connection merge, where the life partnership makes sense, but the emotional bond transcends logic, where the decision is sound, but the feeling is extraordinary. That balance is what creates commitment that withstands challenges, temptation, and time. So if you're tired of all-weight relationships or wondering why commitment seems elusive with the men you care about most, ask yourself, am I trying to secure a commitment or am I embodying commitment-inspiring energy? That one question can shift your whole approach to love. Because the truth is, the most committed to women aren't the ones who strategize best. They're the ones who embody a presence that feels irreplaceable, who know how to activate a man's commitment instinct, not just pursue his agreement. And once you master that balance, you're not just getting commitment, you're inspiring devotion. And that is where real forever begins. Ready to take it further? Let's keep going. Let's talk about something that makes men commit fully without even realizing why. Emotional contrast. Now, when you hear that phrase, you might think of being hot and cold, playing games, or creating artificial distance. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about authentic emotional range, the kind that keeps a man emotionally engaged, psychologically stimulated, and deeply bonded. Because the experience of loving you is never one-dimensional. You see, humans are wired to respond to contrast. What's too predictable fails to register emotionally. It's why relationships sometimes plateau, not because anything's wrong, but because the emotional landscape becomes too consistent, too expected, too familiar, that it loses its definition. The joy fades, the appreciation diminishes. And when a man starts to feel that loving you creates only one emotional note, whether that's comfort, excitement, or validation, the emotional color fades. And emotional color is essential for lifetime commitment. Now, emotional contrast isn't about manipulation or inconsistency. It's about emotional wholeness. It's about being authentically multifaceted and having the courage to show the full spectrum of who you are. You can be fiercely independent and also deeply vulnerable. You can be his biggest supporter and also need support yourself. You can be absolutely certain about wanting him and also absolutely certain about your non-negotiable standards. That natural contrast creates perpetual discovery, And perpetual discovery prevents the emotional flatline that kills so many commitments. When you allow yourself to be a complete human being with contradictions, complexities, and continuous growth, you automatically create emotional contrast. Not because you're trying to, but because you're not performing a role. He can't fully anticipate you. He has to stay present and engaged to experience the full texture of your being. And that keeps the commitment alive, not through struggle, but through perpetual relevance. One of the most powerful things a woman can do is surprise him emotionally, not with tests or drama, but with depth, a moment of profound wisdom when he expects casual conversation, unexpected compassion when he reveals weakness, quiet confidence when he anticipates insecurity. That kind of emotional contrast keeps him psychologically engaged. And when a man remains psychologically engaged over time, casual dating transforms into, I can't imagine my life without her. On the flip side, if you become emotionally predictable, always nurturing without receiving, always agreeable without boundaries, always available without standards, there's no emotional topography to explore. And exploration is how connection deepens into commitment. Think about it. We commit most deeply to experiences, people, and relationships that continue to reveal new dimensions, that surprise us with their depth, that feel simultaneously familiar and fresh with each encounter. That's what emotional contrast does in relationships. It creates perpetual discovery within reliable connection. But no, you don't need to manufacture mystery, but you do need to give yourself permission to stop performing the perfect woman role. Stop trying to be consistently pleasing, consistently available, consistently undemanding. By embracing your full emotional range, your evolving needs, your authentic shifts, let your humanity breathe. Because the truth is, when you keep evolving, when you keep honoring all parts of yourself, you naturally create emotional contrast. And when you embody emotional contrast, you become unforgettable. He'll keep leaning in, keep wondering, keep discovering, because you're not giving him a flat, predictable emotional experience. You're giving him a topography of love that he can explore forever. And that's what turns right now into forever. So if you want to inspire lifetime commitment, not just temporary certainty, stop being emotionally monotone. Let him experience the valleys and peaks, the softness and strength, the playfulness and depth. That's the power of emotional contrast. And when you embody it authentically, that's when forever becomes his idea. Let's keep going, because it gets even better from here. One of the biggest fears so many women carry is this: if I fully express what I want, will I push him away? Will he think I'm too needy, too demanding, too eager for commitment? And it makes sense, because for a long time, women have been conditioned to hide their desires, to downplay their standards, to wait patiently for the man to lead. But here's what you need to hear today. Having clear relationship intentions doesn't make you too much. It makes you compelling, it makes you trustworthy, it makes you safe to commit to for the right man. Setting a clear relationship direction isn't about control. It's not about forcing someone into a timeline. It's about knowing what kind of love story you're writing and being brave enough to name it. It's self-honor in action. It's you saying, I love myself enough to create a love that matches my vision, even if it means this isn't the right connection. And that's one of the most attractive energies you can carry. The women who struggle with commitment often aren't lacking love, they're lacking clarity. They accept ambiguous situations. They tolerate undefined relationships, commitment without progression, intimacy without security, all in the name of being patient or not scaring him off. But here's the thing, ambiguity doesn't nurture commitment. It slowly erodes it. Because every time you accept less than what you truly desire, you teach him that half-hearted investment is enough to keep you. But when you express your vision with grounded confidence, you actually build respect. You show him and the world that you know your worth, and that invites people who want to meet it. A high-quality man won't run from your clarity. He'll be relieved by it. He may need time to align if he's used to women who hide their desires, but if he's emotionally available, he'll appreciate your direction, he'll respect your ability to name your desires, to honor your timeline, and to express your needs without apology or anxiety. Now, does that mean you should express your commitment desires with demands or ultimatums? No. The most powerful expressions of desire are the ones delivered with grace, with certainty, with calm confidence. It's not about pressuring, it's about clarifying. This is what I'm creating in my life. This is the kind of relationship I'm moving toward. This is what commitment means to me. You don't have to threaten or plead to be heard. You just have to mean what you say. And yes, expressing your commitment desires might cause someone to step back. But if they step back because you expressed your authentic vision, they were never aligned with your path, just with the undemanding version of you that didn't challenge them to grow. Let them go. Because the more you honor your vision, the more you'll naturally attract someone who wants to commit in a way that matches it, not diminishes it. You are not too much. You are not too eager. You are not too serious about love. You are clear. You are intentional. And you have every right to seek the kind of commitment that aligns with your future, not accommodates someone else's hesitation. So the next time you hesitate to name what you want, to express your timeline, to clarify your vision, remember this. Authentic desire isn't desperate, it's directional. And it only aligns with those who respect its destination. Let's keep going, because now that we've set the standard, it's time to create real commitment from that place of empowered clarity. But let's talk about something that most women underestimate and most men crave more than they'll ever admit. Emotional leadership. Not manipulation, not ultimatums or pressure tactics. I'm talking about real emotional guidance, the kind of emotional direction that makes a man feel inspired, certain, and deeply activated toward commitment, not just for now, but for a lifetime. See, we often think of leadership as something men provide in relationships. But the truth is, women are the emotional leaders, particularly when it comes to commitment. Men just aren't always conscious of how much they're following your emotional cues. Most men are raised to achieve externally, to make logical decisions, to protect their freedom at all costs. So when they meet a woman who doesn't just participate in the relationship, but actually sets its emotional climate, it's transformative in ways they often can't articulate. But creating emotional leadership isn't about controlling outcomes or pushing for commitment. It's about being emotionally sovereign yourself. It's about showing him what's possible first. Your emotional maturity, your clarity, your ability to love without losing yourself. When you lead with emotional health, you give him silent permission to invest more deeply. A man starts to commit fully when he realizes he doesn't have to protect himself emotionally with you. When he can be uncertain, imperfect, even vulnerable about commitment itself and still be met with understanding instead of desperation. That doesn't mean you become his emotional manager or absorb his doubts. It means you create direction. Direction for how love is expressed. Direction for how challenges are navigated. Direction for how intimacy deepens without pressure. You don't have to be the most emotionally evolved person on the planet to create this. Sometimes it's just about being emotionally consistent, responding to uncertainty with curiosity instead of catastrophe, expressing desires without attaching your worth to their fulfillment, addressing concerns directly instead of accumulating resentment. Those small moments of emotional leadership build something bigger than attraction. They build trust in the relationship's direction. And here's the thing, a man can feel passion with many women, but emotional security with emotional excitement, that's rare. That's what makes him choose you forever. Because when he feels both safe and inspired with you, the commitment becomes the obvious next step. You become his emotional home, his compass, his sanctuary, in a world that often leaves men emotionally isolated. Now, this doesn't mean he'll always follow your lead immediately. Some men need time. Some have been conditioned against commitment for decades. But if you stay anchored in your emotional clarity and show up consistently with direction and warmth, he'll begin to trust the path forward. He'll begin to see commitment as freedom, not constraint. Not because you convinced him, but because he experienced it. And yes, emotional leadership also means being willing to name when the relationship isn't progressing, not avoiding difficult truths, but addressing them with compassion and conviction. The right man won't run from this leadership. He'll respect it because it feels different, it feels purposeful, it feels secure. So many women ask, how do I make him finally commit? Here's the secret. Give him something his soul recognizes. Not pressure, not perfection. Direction. A clear emotional path where commitment feels like the natural next step towards something extraordinary. That's where real, lasting commitment begins. Not with how perfectly you fit his checklist, but with how clearly you create a compelling emotional future. Emotional leadership isn't something you demand, it's something you embody day by day, choice by choice, response by response. And once it's there, everything shifts. The hesitation dissolves, he stops weighing options and starts building certainty. And when that happens, you're no longer just someone he loves, you become the woman he chooses for